What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today we are going to be overhauling and rebuilding this LTD KH202 model. This guitar has been through a ton. It's over 20 years old. It is my buddy's very first guitar that he ever got, and we are just going to totally overhaul it. This guitar did not come stock with this chrome hardware that's on here. We're going to get rid of it all, and we're going to overhaul this thing. We got a broken switch. We got some volume knobs that maybe work, and we got these old passive EMG pickups in here that are gonna get a serious upgrade despite how good these pickups actually sound when you pair them up with the right kind of gear. So with all that being said, let's get into it and let's walk you through how you can take your very first guitar or your budget guitar and overhaul it with some awesome parts. First thing I've already done is taken all the tension off of the strings. They're pretty loose. You wanna get something like this. You can get these on Amazon, and I will leave a link in the description if you wanna get this. This is going to help you for later. It's going to keep your Floyd Rose or any sort of double locking bridge level, so when you go to retune the guitar, it's going to be much easier. And just so the back string locks are not going all the way back on that foam that is in there. I'm going to flip the guitar over, and now I am going to just take the springs out of this. I'm going to keep the strings on because when I swap these pickups, I want to make sure that all of the wiring is correct, so I'll just quickly tune it up and string it up with the old strings rather than using a new set, then having to change them out and all that stuff again in case nothing works. So just a little word to the wise for you there. Get the bridge out of there. Good time to clean up the guitar as well. We're also going to get rid of these posts. You can just start by unthreading them just like that, or get an Allen wrench, stick it in there, speed it up. There's the stock electronics. These have been here for quite a while because you still have the zip tie over all of that. You want to get something like these side cutters here, and then cut that, just a little easier to work with. There we go. Since we're going from passive pickups to active ones, we need to actually have a stereo jack. This is just a mono jack. If you're buying brand new active pickups, you're gonna get all of the different wiring that you're gonna need to make it work. Otherwise, if not, and you're just getting them used and you don't have any wiring, you need to make sure your output jack has 3 tabs that you can solder to on it. And that's the easiest way to tell if it is a stereo jack. Okay, there's the wiring for one of the EMGs. Just gonna slide it out just like that. It's a nice thing about those quick connect systems that they just pop out like that. We're gonna have to do a little bit of unsoldering from the back there because this tab won't be able to fit right through there. This toggle switch is also broken, so I'm just gonna cut everything off of this and throw it out. I also have this like multi-tool, like Swiss Army knife kind of thing. It's from a brand called Gruido. They are under the Joyo brand. This unit has been really great, especially because of the size of it. It's pretty much every kind of Allen wrench and like hex fitting that you'd ever need for most guitars, and it's great. It saves me a lot of space when I am traveling and touring. Another awesome tool is this Music Nomad spanner wrench. This one's really good. If you don't have a wrench, or if you're in a jam, you could simply use one of these to loosen off your volume pots, just like that, or any sort of nut and washer. Works great for like a Gibson style 3-way toggle switch if you need to tighten it. Works great for other parts like these on the guitar. And again, super tiny. You can also pop off the plastic caps that sit on your potentiometers because this also has a felt backing. This is really sweet as well. I like this, and I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go get one. All right, guitar is empty at this point. So now we are going to throw in some new active pickups. All right, so all of the potentiometers on guitars with passive pickups, for the most part, they're going to be 500K or 250K, just in that kind of general range here. When you're running active pickups, you need to make sure you're running potentiometers that are 25K. We are going to be using these Seymour Duncan blackout pickups in this guitar here. Cool thing about this is that these are both bridge pickups. So we're going to have a bridge pickup in the neck and the bridge, obviously. This one is really old too because it has the 3-prong connector for the quick connect system, but this one is also wired right into the pickup like a traditional pickup, whereas this one I think is a little bit newer because it just has the quick connect system. So I've never seen this before, but pretty cool to see a little piece of Seymour Duncan history. This is a pretty easy install, even if it is your first time installing. You just got to go slow with it. Make sure you have a wiring diagram. Throw that on screen when we are getting ready to do that. But I also recommend installing one pickup at a time before you kind of get carried away and you're not sure which wire is which. You miss wire or something. Just go slow. This isn't a race. It's not about how fast you can get a guitar built up. Now I'm going to put these pickup mounting screws in. This is just to hold the pickup in place so it's not falling out of the guitar when I have to spin it over a bunch of times to wire it up. Since we have to replace the original 3-way switch, I'm going to use this Cache 3-way switch here. This is an import style one. This one's super easy to wire up, and they have a lot of great resources on their website. So not sponsored. I just like buying these ones just because they're super easy to work with, and they are very heavy duty as well, and I do recommend them. Now, when you're installing one of these switches, I like to kind of have the wafer side. This is like that brown plastic side, just facing away like that. You can install this either way, just your wiring might be backwards. If you have one of those Fender style switches that have tabs 1 through 8 on a left and right side, not in a line like this, you might not have enough room for that, so you just gotta make sure you're ordering the right switch for your guitar. Okay, so when you get a set of active pickups or pickups in general, you're gonna get a wiring diagram from factory. They're gonna tell you what all their wiring color codes are, and they're gonna give you a couple basic wiring diagrams just to get started here. So we're actually gonna be using this one because we have 2 volumes and we have 1 tone switch on here. We're just gonna have to figure out how we're gonna wire the 3-way switch, which is not gonna be hard. Again, I'll throw an updated wiring diagram on screen, so if you're in a situation like this, you could just copy what I'm showing you. Not too bad, but this is at least to get you started. One thing we can do for now is at least start soldering the pickups right to the pots and to the jack, getting the battery all hooked up, and then we'll do the switch later. So let's do that. Red is gonna get soldered up with all the other red ones, which will go to the battery. That'll be for the very end. The white one, that's your hot wire. White is gonna go to the very outer left tab on your volume pot. Then this bare ground wire is gonna go to the very back of that volume pot right there, or any sort of pot you're working with. I also like to use this solder paste. This is just gonna make sure all of the contact points are gonna be super clean, and I'm gonna get a really clean connection. Just dunk something in there, take off a little bit, and then put it on that bare wire or the surface that you are gonna be soldering. And for good measure, just to make sure your soldering iron is clean, get some solder lead. And the last little bit here, you want to make sure you tape up that last battery wire that you solder all together, just so that doesn't touch on any other bare metal and it grounds out your circuit. All right, so here's an issue that you might run into when you are doing a passive to active swap where you're just having to change out some of the volume pots. This is just as a reference point here. As you can see, the shaft where the nut and the washer have to go onto the volume pot is not fitting through that pre-drilled hole from factory. So essentially, when this guitar is right side up, only the top part is barely sticking through here. So we got to widen this hole. And what you want to do is get yourself something like this tiny handheld Dremel. You're going to take the smallest sanding bit in here. You're going to put it right in the actual volume pot hole, either the front or through the back, right through the cavity. And then you're just going to let it sit there with it on, and then slowly work your way going up and down just to widen that hole so that new volume pot can sit through. It's not the end of the world, but this is a quick fix so you're not having to run to the music store, get some different parts, and it's always good to have a Dremel on hand in case you have to widen a circular hole that is on your guitar. Next thing I'm gonna do is wire up the stereo output jack. As you can see, we got the 3 tabs there that indicates it is a stereo jack. What I'm gonna do is actually take some of that wire that I spliced from that very long bridge cable here. There's a hot wire and there's a ground wire here. It works out really nicely where I could just kind of solder it like that and call it a day. This wire is also skinny enough so it's gonna fit through the pre-routed holes that are gonna go right to the output jack, and I'm not gonna have to deal with squishing wires just to make them fit properly, which is really nice. The next thing we have to do is make sure all of our pots are grounded, so we just need to have a wire that goes from all 3 pots together. So I'm just gonna do that and splice it together. Super easy to do. We have these little side tabs on this KH 3-way switch. You can use either one, and you're gonna take a wire, solder it to the back of one of the either volume or tone pots. All right, now we are gonna solder the volume pots to the switch. I have a tiny piece of wire right here. You're gonna solder it right to the middle tab on both of those volume pots. You're then gonna go to either these 2 tabs down here or these 2 right there. That's gonna be for either your bridge or your neck. This is for your middle, and this one is gonna go to your master tone, or at least the master volume or tone control. And this is to make sure that all of your signal is gonna pass through the circuit appropriately. Another nice thing about this switch is that these tabs, 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, these ones are all soldered together, which is what you would have to do anyway. So instead of having to cut up tiny pieces of wire and then jumping all of your connections together, these ones already come pre-soldered. So another nice thing, it saves you a bunch of time when you're having to wire up your own guitar. All right, everything is wired up and it works, no issues, nothing's grounding out, which is awesome. I'm gonna put a little bit of foam to cover all the electronics, and the battery is gonna lay on top of it, just because there is no actual battery compartment for this guitar. All right, we got the new Floyd Rose post right here. One thing I wanna do, a little bit of gear oil in this, just to make sure everything's gonna move as it should without any issues. Just need a little bit on there. All of this stuff off Amazon or anywhere you'd like to, so I will leave some links down below if you want to get some new mounting posts, or at least a little bit of the 3-in-1 oil to make sure all your parts are moving as they should. All right, now it's time to get rid of the strings and remove the Floyd Rose, just as you would for any other Floyd Rose string change. We're gonna get rid of the string retainer as well, because we're gonna swap it for one that's all black. We're also gonna get rid of this nut and replace it with a all black nut, and one that actually fits. As you can see, the side of the fretboard is not matching up with the side of the nut here, so this is the wrong size of nut. Now, all of these licensed by Floyd Rose nuts, back in the day, they were just cut kind of how they were, so you really need to make sure you are measuring across the fingerboard just to make sure you have the exact width of nut that you are looking for. So I'm gonna throw a 43mm nut on this guitar, and we're gonna be good to go. As you can see there, a little shim just to raise the nut up a little bit. Since all the strings are off the guitar, let's clean up the fingerboard while we're at it. Music Nomad fret guards and a little bit of quadruple zero stainless steel wool. Go back and forth as you're seeing right now. Brand new fret versus the current state of the frets. So these are very cheap online, and stainless steel wool is very cheap as well, and you're gonna have a ton of this, and it's gonna last you a very long time. Link in the description. I'm gonna do the rest of the fingerboard, and I will see you for the next part. It's a brand new string tree. You can get them super cheap on Amazon. You don't need to have the best brand. You just need one that's the exact same size as the one that you are removing. All right, there we go, a new nut. This is a Graphtec licensed Floyd Rose. So I think Graphtec had a partnership with Floyd Rose, and they were going to develop their own double locking trem based on the Floyd Rose, but it never really came to life. But there's a few of these that are kind of floating around. Big brass block, 37mm. Looks awesome. These Graphtec saddles are super comfy as well. I like these parts right here that I'm pointing at. It makes sure that you don't have metal on metal, whether that affects the tone or not. Hard to say. I mean, I honestly doubt it if you're playing metal and if that should be a concern, but really nice feature as well. This thing is awesome. I've used some Graphtec stuff in the past, and it's always been great as well. Super easy install. The only thing you're gonna run into is a little bit of this space right here that I'm pointing at, because all of these like entry level or like overseas guitars that were at least made with a license by Floyd Rose, not like a 1000 or an original, they're all kind of cut differently based on the base plate. So as you can see, that original one kind of had like this weird, like rounder base plate on it. So if you are going to upgrade to something more substantial like this one or any sort of other double locking trim, you're going to run into this issue where there's going to be a bit of a gap. But of course, it doesn't affect the playability or the tone, just might look a little off to you. All right, so one more thing about this Graphtec Floyd Rose style bridge here. As you can see, we got the regular wound strings right here and right here. But on the low E string, which is a 56 gauge, I actually had to use the plain end of this string here. The wound part is actually not going to fit in here. Again, this is only a 56 gauge string, not crazy thick by some player standards, but if you are using these Graphtec saddles here, you will have to do something like this to make sure your string fits. There is not enough room for the actual wound part of a 56 gauge string or higher to actually fit in here properly, unlike some other Floyd Rose style saddles. Otherwise, the rest of the strings fit in normally. Just keep that in mind if you have thick strings for your low E. Next up, we're gonna upgrade the guitar with some strap locks. You can get these for pretty inexpensive, and they are a must-have if you are the gigging musician. I also recommend using wood glue on the actual screw and in the hole here, just so your strap lock is actually going to stay in there and not come out. And here's the guitar all finished up. Once again, this guitar started out as a regular bone stock KH202 entry level of the Kirk Hammett series guitars, but with a little bit of TLC, some extra parts that are much more substantial than what this guitar started out with. You got a pretty awesome guitar at the end of the day, and these old LTD guitars are fantastic. So let's get into some specs and features. This one has a basswood body, which is a really good tone wood. We have some brand new Seymour Duncan active blackout pickups, 2 bridge pickups, one in the bridge and one in the neck. Has a really great sound, which you're gonna hear in a little bit. We got this licensed by Floyd Rose Graphtec Floyd Rose bridge on here, and this bridge feels really good. Flip the guitar over, there's the back, nice big brass block on the back of that. We then have a bolt-on design, which is actually how the very expensive ESP Custom Shop Kirk Hammett guitars come, or at least some of them do anyways. Maple neck, 25.5-inch scale design, rosewood fingerboard, 24 extra jumbo nickel frets. We got the classic Kirk Hammett skull inlays on here. We're gonna put some Floyd Rose locking nut clamps on here. I just don't have them on right now. String retainer, and that is about it. And of course, we strung the guitar up with a custom set of strings from the String Source. This is an 11 to 56 gauge, but you can pretty much get whatever strings you want from them, whether they are the pre-made sets or the custom sets, which you can order as well. Link in the description below and a discount code if you want to get the best strings for your guitar. But at this point, there's nothing else to do except plug the guitar in and hear how it sounds. So at the end of the day, I had a lot of fun putting this guitar back together, and I'm very happy with the end results of this guitar. Again, I've done a couple of videos like this already, like taking some inexpensive entry-level guitars or some mid-tier guitars and kicking them up a notch with some better hardware like we did in this video. And it's a really great experience, and if you have one of these older guitars that plays great and, you know, just maybe needs a little bit of new hardware, this is a really great activity to do, and it's great to put a little bit of new life into your guitar. And once you do all this, it's gonna create so many new riffs, and it's gonna create so many more memories with the guitar. And yeah, it's a really cool thing to do. The guitar plays awesome, it feels awesome, sounds great, and with a little bit of sweat equity, you can really rebuild your first guitar or one of your entry-level guitars and give it a new lease on life and have an awesome guitar at the end of the day and not have to spend a ton of money on brand new guitars when you can just learn a skill and, you know, have some fun with it along the way. Now, as I've said in other videos of rebuilding guitars, like if you like doing this kind of stuff, you like tinkering with guitar projects or you like working on your own guitars, this is a really fun thing to do, and it's also gonna save you a ton of money instead of having to send it off to someone else or at least buy a new guitar with the specs that you've already wanted. Now, if you don't have the skills or the time, or you just don't know where to start with all this and you feel more comfortable paying someone else to do it, you can do that as well. A lot of it just boils down to your own skill set, your own level of comfortability. But regardless of who's doing the work, you can't deny of how great it is to just get your old guitar back and get it running and give it a new lease on life and make some more memories with it. And that'll do it for today's video, walking through the rebuild of this Kirk Hammett 202 series. And giving it a whole new lease on life and making it a really wicked guitar for tons of more riffs down the road. If you like this video, make sure you leave a comment down below. If you are working on your own guitar build like this, let me know as well. I would love to hear what guitars you are working on. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe. Tons more videos like this and a lot of Guitar Hero deep dives. And if you are a returning subscriber, make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss a single video that I upload. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you next time.